And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Top podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Reno. Alongside me, co-host Dan Kiley. We are both juiced to be back on the airwaves. It's been 2 weeks since our last show. I think it's been about 2 weeks. Vacation was good. Got a little sun kiss, Dan. Finally starting to get the sunburn to go away and just turn into constant itching. So not too bad of life here on this side of town. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. It's we are getting so close to the season. I was really hoping we could start talking about football, but boy, did we get a bombshell today! Something that we all been waiting for. So we're gonna have an action-packed, loaded show today for you guys. It is our welcome back, right?
Absolutely welcome back. As I'm still having some microphone trouble. Sorry about that. Yeah, action-packed as always. Show notes were looking rather fat today. With everything that came on. Me and Dan had a big show planned for you right before a bombshell drop from the University of Georgia, and we're going to dive into that bombshell here in a minute. But let's kick it off some hot topics as always. First one up on the plate. Dan, you're in the batting deck. You're stepping into the box here real quick. Question number one. If you started a college football program today with unlimited resources and needed a head football coach, who would you call? Real quick, before we get into this question, this is kind of a spinoff from the college football nerds over there on Twitter had a similar question that kind of sparked a hot topic question of our own here today. So shout out to them for this kind of suggestion here of a hot topic based off their content. We also have our main event topic kind of bouncing off of something they put out there. But Dan, again, question number one, if you started a college football program today with unlimited resources, meaning money, facilities, all that, and needed a head football coach, who would you be calling?
So in the realm of this question, are you saying that they can actually be an active coach right now?
Active and former.
Oh, well, then that's easy. It's Kirby Smart. It's 100% Kirby Smart. And, I mean, it's not the answer that I had coming to this because I thought we were going to have different parameters. But if you're saying active coach is Kirby Smart, I mean, it has to be. He is a relentless recruiter. He's obviously a very, very good football coach, but it's the recruiting part of it and the selling the program part of it and the getting kids to buy in part of it. I mean, like you could say Nick Saban, but Nick Saban's 70 years old. So, like, I don't want to start, a new program with Nick Saban. Kirby Smart is in his 40s, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's my age. Like, I think he's a year older than I am. I think he's like 45 or maybe 46. But Kirby is relatively young. I think that the biggest thing with Kirby that everybody questions is how long does he want to do it? But if you're going to start a program, he's one of them. Another guy, just because it's low-hanging fruit, Kirby Smart. Another guy that I would absolutely start a program with would be Lincoln Riley. And I know a lot of people don't like him, but I think he does a lot of the same things that Kirby does. Obviously, he's on the offensive side of the ball, and Kirby's on the defensive side of the ball. And maybe he's a little goofy for some people, but again, young, relentless recruiter. I think he would be a good place to start. That's not the question I thought we were going with, but that's my answers to this particular question. Go ahead, Harrison.
Dan, go ahead and give your answer to the particular question you thought you were going with to kind of extend it.
Okay, so what we were talking about originally was that they had to be a retired coach who's not coaching anymore. And, oh my gosh, I just drew a blank. Oh, go ahead and do yours, and I'll come back to me because I just completely went blank. I am so sorry.
No, you're all good.
You can't help me because you don't know what I was going to say.
You're all good. You're all good.
Crap.
So for the first question, I agree with Dan Kirby Smart, but I'm actually going with Nick Saban for the subject of debate matter. Big talking point that I've seen in my vacation was, people were asking the question, can Kirby Smart do it at a program not like Georgia, in the sense that can he go to Colorado, Michigan State, Michigan? Can he go to somewhere that doesn't have a recruiting base already, like the state of Georgia behind it? Can he go there and recruit at a high level and turn that program into essentially what he's done at Georgia? So I'm going with Nick Saban, assuming we're not in a good spot, like recruiting wise. Nick Saban, he's proven he can do it at Michigan State. He's proven he can do it at LSU. Obviously, LSU's name brand and familiarity with the SEC and all that has helped him out there. And then he went to Alabama, which Alabama's not that great of a state for high school football, and he's turned them into a powerhouse, a dynasty. Nick Saban's going to be the guy that I would try to bring to my school if I had to hire a head football coach. Dan, I see you got your answer for who you'd take out of retirement. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, so the original, what I thought we were going to go with was if they have to be alive, they have to be a retired football coach, not coaching right now. So for me, and there's a lot of great candidates. I saw some names that I didn't know, but mine would be Bob Stoops. For me, it's Big Game Bob. He did a great job when he was at Oklahoma. And, I don't know. I've just always liked Bob Stoops. I think he's a good coach. His brother, Mark Stoops, is doing a great job at Kentucky. That's the guy that I would go after is Stoops. And, I mean, he's not too old, I don't think. So that's who I would go with. I don't know.
I think Bob Stoops is a very good answer, actually, to this whole question. I'm actually surprised he has not been maybe rehired at this point. I know he did retire from OU, but I thought, hey, if there was a program that could lure him out of retirement, maybe the one out west that had a coaching opening just a few years ago in USC, was kind of surprised when they didn't go for him. Thought he would maybe be tempted to come out. The one for me, Dan, and it's going to be controversial, Urban Meyer. Now, yes, Urban Meyer comes with baggage, a lot of baggage. In the sense that you look at the scandal or the run-ins he's had with scandals and law enforcement and all that. A lot of baggage there, obviously dating back to his time at Florida. That has been well documented. Actually, they're having a documentary on that thing. And hey, shoot, maybe me and Dan do a review. Dan and I do a review on that Florida documentary documenting that 08-07 Florida team that Urban Meyer had. It's going to be great. ESPN's going to be great. But Urban Meyer's the one I'm going to take. I think he's a monster recruiter. Obviously, a renowned offensive mind, renowned football mind. Give me Urban Meyer, and let's see if he can do what he did at Florida, at Ohio State, at Utah before both of those two. Taking Urban Meyer. Now, Dan, we got a new format to this hot topic question in the sense that we're trying something new out. And as an audience, if you like it, we'll keep it and we'll keep doing it. If you don't, we'll scrap and go back to the way we used to be doing it. But this is actually inspiration through Real Talk UGA, actually a podcast from the Class 6 Collective, run by Zion Logue and Tate Ratledge, two current Georgia Bulldogs, doing a great job. I've watched their content, supported their content, do a really tremendous job. Always entertaining episodes. So shout out to those guys for what they're doing there. And I decided, hey, they have this blind draft they usually do at the end of each episode, I believe. I was like, hey, me and Dan and I could have some fun with this. So I was like, hey, Dan, let's try this out. Let's see if we like it. And I picked a blind draft for Dan this week. Now it's going to rotate week to week. Dan's going to have a blind draft for me. I'm going to have a blind draft for Dan. And it doesn't have to be football related. This one is football related. This one's UGA related. So we're going to get right on to it. Dan, the way this works, as I explained to you, is I'm going to give you a name. And the topic is UGA quarterbacks. Now, I've limited these to the 90s. That was the time period me and you discussed in text when I said, what is the farthest back, time period of Georgia football? Can you, go back and say, hey, I can give an opinion on this person? It is the 90s. So, Dan, starting with quarterbacks, I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you a name, and it's actually not top 5. It's top 8. We expanded it. I'm going to give you a name, and you're going to have to rank it 1 through 8. And I'm going to give you another name. You're going to have to rank that one. Now, you can't move rankings. You can't change it. Once you say where they are and I move on, they stay there. So, Dan, first question, first person. Quincy
Are you going to write
Carter.
this down?
I will.
Okay, Quincy Carter. In the pantheon of quarterbacks that have played at Georgia from 90s to current day quarterbacks, Quincy would be 5. I'm going to go at number 5 for Quincy Carter.
All right, next up, Dan. This is
a
request.
And he had a really good NFL career. Okay, all right. I'm all right. I already have I'm scared that I'm gonna screw this up. But all right, 5.
You feeling good or no? You feeling good at 5?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's go.
Okay, Greg Talley.
7. He wasn't really that bad, but there's been some good quarterbacks coming, and I don't know who else is gonna be on this list, so I'm leaving room at 8. But I'm putting him at 7. And I'm not dissing you, Greg Talley. I'm just saying.
Here's where it's gonna get fun. Hudson Mason.
Oh shit. All right, so I took 5 and I took 7. So I'm gonna put Hudson at 6. He's not as good as Quincy, but he's better than Greg Talley.
Matthew Stafford.
So are we saying specifically only for their time at UGA, or are we saying in totality?
Let's do specifically time at UGA just to make this a little bit easier.
2.
Okay. Interesting. Here we go. Eric Zier.
3.
Okay. Mike Bobo. To recap, Dan, you have Quincy Carter at 5, Talley at 7, Hudson Mason at 6, Stafford at 2, Zier at 3.
Okay, so I'm waiting for that bombshell of a really horrible quarterback that you're going to drop in my lap. So now I have to put Bobo at 4, which is crap because he's not. You got see you got me already. All right, so Bobo's 4.
Stetson Bennett.
See, now here's where this is where, because I don't know if you have Aaron Murray on this list, because if Aaron Murray's on this list, I'm going to put him at 3. So I had Stafford at 2, Stetson at 3.
Hold up. Zier currently occupies the 3 spot.
So he's 4.
He's gonna and Bobo has 4.
So all I have left is 1 and 8.
1 and 8.
All right, so he's number 1.
Fatten Batua.
Okay, hell yeah, 8. Fatan. It's Fatan. It's
Fatan. My bad. Haven't said that name in a long time.
Oh, all right. So I'm happy now. Okay, so we have Stetson at 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got Stafford at 2. Who do I have at 3?
Hold up, I'll bring up the list.
All right.
I have their numbers next to them. Here, let's put them all on the line.
All right.
We have Stetson Bennett at 1, Matthew Stafford at 2, Eric Zier at 3.
Okay.
Bobo at 4. Carter at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mason at 6. Alley at 7. And Baton at 8. Dan,
that's not bad.
That's not bad at all. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I would want back is the Bobo. I mean, I would switch Bobo. I would switch Bobo and Carter. And if you just switch Bobo and Carter, that's not a bad list.
No, not bad at all. I think you did a great job for the first edition of this. Guys in the comments, I see y'all interacting in there. Rudes is in there. We got Zach in there. Guys, if you like it, hit the thumbs up down below. We'll bring this back for another week, and we'll see what Dan can cook up for next week, because I'm sure Dan's going to come in here and ask me about something crazy and have me rank it. I'm going to
ask him what his favorite micro machine is.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's already shaping up to be a good one. I'm really gonna like this. Yeah, no Jackson Muschamp just yet. We'll get there in a little bit. I promise you, we'll get there. Dan, let's get into your rant of the week. We got a loaded show. We're already 15 minutes in, so I'm gonna give you the floor.
All right, so my rant of the week is, and I've had so many different rants that I wanted to do, and Harrison censors me, so you have to kind of go with what he says I'm allowed to do. So it is that time of the year where it is lazy time. Okay. But you know what? We're all guilty of this. Every single person in the chat, every single person that I know is guilty. And my rant of the week is the Mount Rushmore / list season is here, boys. It is here. And this absolutely drives me crazy. It is so lazy. But is never going to go away because it freaking works. It drives traffic. UGA put up a picture of Mount Rushmore and said, who is your Mount Rushmore of UGA football? And there were 5,000 replies. I mean, it was incredible. Like the retweets, the quote tweets, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it just took off like wildfire. I've never in my life ever had anything blow up that way. And it's completely lazy. It takes no imagination, no creative juice whatsoever. And it's insane to me that it's the same crap over and over every year. It's the same Mount Rushmore. It's the same nonsense every single year, but yet people are hook, line, and sinker for it. And it just drives me crazy because, like I said, it's lazy. And like as I use this term very loosely, content creator, because I'm not that guy. I'm not like all big time or whatever. But Harrison and I do try to drive content and create content. But the Mount Rushmores is just so overplayed and overdone. How many times can you do a Mount Rushmore of Georgia? Because if you don't have Herschel Walker, Todd Gurley, Aaron Murray, and Charlie Trippy on it, then you're wrong. So I don't know. But that's my point, is that like there's no right answer. It is fun, I get it. It's lazy, and I just can't believe everybody falls for it every single year. So anyway, in the comments, go ahead and put your Mount Rushmore for Georgia football. Harrison, I know when we were joking around about this on our phones, I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and give one anyway. But I don't know. Roots, what's your Mount Rushmore for Georgia? Zach, what's your Mount Rushmore for Georgia? It's lazy content, but we are all suckers for it. So at the end of the day, I guess I'm mad about nothing because it's not going away, right, Harrison?
Yeah, not going away anytime soon. And Dan, go ahead and give us your Mount Rushmore. Let's go. Let's get on the horse and get us your Mount Rushmore.
Man, I don't know. That's the thing is Roots. Here we go. Put up Roots. Roots has got his up there. Put that up. So Kirby, I understand that. In Kirby is two-way now, player and coach. Dooley, Stetson. I'm guessing that's Stetson and Herschel. I can't argue with that, really. For me, if you're just doing players only, I think you have to go Herschel, right? For me, Gurley, because I love Todd Gurley. I think you probably have to do David Pollock, right? Because David Pollock, what he meant at the time that he was there, and then you have to do Stetson Bennett. For God's sakes, the guy won 2 national championships. So I think that would be mine. Open to interpretation of however you want to come up with them. I like that. Stetson, Stafford, Herschel, and Chubb. It's very hard to argue. But see, that's my point. It's anybody can do it, right?
Anybody can do it. And everyone's gonna have their own answer, and no one's ever gonna be satisfied. You're always gonna catch that one guy that's older than you and I. I know who. Find a guy older than Dan, guys. Seems impossible these days. I'm just joking. Frank Tarkin has to be on there. Charlie Trippy. You're always gonna find those guys. If they're not on there, someone's gonna be upset, and that's what Dan's talking about. Yeah, it's crazy time. It is prime Mount Rushmore season, but thank God for Dan and I, it's coming to an end. Talking season is almost over. SC Media Day is next week. I can't believe it. We're already almost in mid-July. It's crazy, and the bombshells of football season are already here. Dan, there's a bombshell, and I mean a bombshell that dropped out of Athens, something that we have been waiting to talk about because we wanted it to play out. There was multiple times where we could have talked about it on the show, and that was the stories that was going on and coming out from the AJC. Now, look, I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm not here to slant this in any way. I don't think Dan is either. I know Dan's not here to slant it. We're here to give you the news. It is the biggest news probably of the summer so far here in the Georgia space, and it was the University of Georgia's Athletic Association put out a now public letter to the AJC telling them to retract an article that they published, I think it was about 10 days ago, regarding their investigative journalism into an incident involving Jamal Jarrett when he was a recruit at the University of Georgia on an official visit. And the reason it's being asked to be retracted is not because it's investigative journalism. Investigative journalism is a key component of the American media industry. It is important. We have to hold those in power accountable. That's just what it is. That is what freedom of speech is. That is what freedom of the media is. Investigative journalism. Everybody has a right to do it. But there's a certain way to do it. There's a certain standard to do it. And in many people's opinion, including UGA's, multiple of these stories put out over the last few weeks by the AJC did not live up to the standards. They included headlines that were sensationalized for any reason to catch an attention, to draw
Clicks.
readership. Yep, clicks, everything. It was all for the wrong reasons. They included information in the article that UGA has come out and said was misconstrued, sometimes even false information, and it was all built to sometimes fit their narrative. The case that UGA put in their letter today basically called the AJC out for having a narrative of their own that was out to get the University of Georgia. What everybody was saying for the past few weeks has now kind of been confirmed as UGA's thought process, that they were out to get University of Georgia and basically trying to paint Georgia and this football program as people that try and sweep under the rug these traffic violations, these speeding violations. Heck, in their own words, the AJC's own words, quote, UGA football program rallies when players accused of abusing women. Athletes often remain on team despite sexual assault, domestic violence allegations. That was published in an article by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And as Georgia puts in their letter, when you have an extraordinarily claims, you have to have extraordinary evidence. And does the AJC have that? From the looks of it, from what I've seen, from what a lot of people have seen, no. But they've gone. Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, the thing that really boils my butter or biscuits or whatever, I don't know whatever that thing is. The thing that really pisses me off is Harrison shared the Anthony Dasher, and Anthony Dasher put everything in text from the secret meeting or whatever it was today. So every single question was listed. Even the back and forth when they were cutting each other off, it's all in there. The only thing he didn't do was list who asked the question. Now, I don't think that there's any way in hell they allowed Alan Judd in that room. If he was there, I doubt it. And I think it's Chip Towers, but they are not backing off and they are not giving up. And I give a lot of credit to Brooks. I watched the show last night, and he had that segment from Feinbaum on his show last night. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. Watch Brooks' show from last night. It's on there. But basically, newspapers are on the verge of extinction. The New York Times Post, according to Feinbaum, is cutting their sports department, although they do own the Athletic, so they're subbing it out. So they're holding on for dear life. And this, from the very beginning, you can ask anybody that we've had the conversations with, Harrison, Jonathan, Jeremiah, anybody that's been part of it, is chip toppers. I got you, Zach. I've been consistent from day one. This reeks to me of being desperate. This is trying to hold on for dear life, trying to do anything they can to stay relevant, boost their readership. I will not pay to read anything that they have to say, and I hope they all lose their jobs. And Harrison says that we're not going to take sides. Well, that's fine. And Harrison wants to have a long and fruitful career in the media, but I'm here to tell you that I am a grown man and I make my own decisions and I decide how I'm going to spend my money. I will never give a penny or an eyelash of my body to them ever because of what they've done. Like it's absolutely atrocious. My wife was even looking over it and she's like, the assertion that University of Georgia would support the sexual abuse of women. Now listen, the speeding is the speeding and they can talk all they want to about that. And I agree with that. Like, I was telling Harrison just the other day, now that my son is driving, my reaction and attitude towards the speeding has completely changed now because I'm scared to death that something bad is going to happen to my son. But the assertion that Georgia supports or is going to cover up the sexual abuses so they can win football games, that is atrocious. And I am so thankful that Georgia decided to fight back.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the point where if they're slandering the University of Georgia or anyone involved that, associated with the University of Georgia's name, you have to come out and fight back. You have to come out and say whether this is false or if it is a case where there's some truth to this, you have to come out and say, yes, this is true, but this is not true. And there was multiple pieces that I pulled here in the notes that University of Georgia said in their letter. You can go find it. It is 9 pages, 9 pages. It is a long letter and not something I'm going to read on this podcast. Probably never. Not right now. Just too long and probably not worth our time. So if you want to read it, it is out there. It's on the internet. It is everywhere at the moment.
Well, we can share it on Twitter. We'll
we can definitely share it on Twitter.
Find one of our Twitters. We'll have it on there for you.
Absolutely. There is long list of reasons why UGA wants this retracted. And I'm actually going to read the conclusion real quick quote. And I quote, the University of Georgia Athletic Association says, Mr. Judd's most recent article falls short of the falls short of these standards, talking about the standards and protocols of the AJC and their investigative journalism. Just quick tidbit, back into the quote. And I quote, absent the numerous and significant inaccuracies identified in this letter, there's simply no foundation for the central premise of the article that the University of Georgia football program actively supports players accused of abusing women. For the ongoing reasons, we demand the AJC's prompt, clear, conspicuous retraction of the article. That's in plain words, a brief summary, very brief summary of why Georgia wants this retracted. It is a big piece of news after weeks of these stories coming out. And hey, there's been a lot of people who've made sense of this, a lot of people who've talked about this, whether it's been facts-based or not. UGA's response to this is significant, and both sides have to be heard. So we'll see where this goes. We're going to have more on this tomorrow night. We are expecting to have Roddy Nabolsi of UGAsports.com, the one who broke the news on this letter. And
bury the lead, Harrison. Say it again for the people in the back.
We'll be coming on the show tomorrow night. Don't have a time just yet announced, but that will be announced on Twitter when we get that set. But Rodney Nabolsi, like I said, will be on the show tomorrow night to answer some questions regarding the retraction of, their letter to the AJC regarding the retraction of their article. More on that tomorrow night. Join us here on the Top Talk podcast. Dan, let's get into our final segment of the night. We got two topics to hit. One from College Football Nerds put out a very informative tweet. I believe it was over the weekend. About kind of college football head coaches' salaries compared to athletic department incomes. And when you look at it, basically it shows you how much of a bargain. And that was the original title of this episode, was Georgia football's biggest bargain. And that, my friends, is Kirby Smart. None other than the fact that he is paid $10.25 million in 2022. That was his salary. I know that is a lot of money. We'll take that. That's probably not a bargain to anybody on this show unless you're throwing out dough. And hey, maybe someone is, but I don't know you. But when you compare that to what UGA raked in terms of athletic department income this year, I believe they made over $203 million. That's just 6%. 6%. That is the lowest percentage of an athletic department's income out of the college football head coach salaries for 2022. The highest was Dabo Swinney at $10.5 million. 15% of Clemson's athletic department income. Second lowest, you ask? Nick Saban. It's just bonkers to me because probably one of the most casual takes in all of probably college sports, not even just college football, is that these coaches are overpaid. And, with the introduction of NIL and the transfer portal and the nonstop recruiting, I think this, along with those factors now, shows that they ain't overpaid.
Well, and that's the one thing that's the only real talking point that I really wanted to hit is everybody likes to say in the Open Records Act that they can find out how much these coaches make, that Kirby Smart is the highest paid public employee of the state of Georgia. And he damn well should be. And you know why? It is not because he's winning football games. Look at the amount of money that he has created for the University of Georgia. And the old argument used to be with Nick Saban at Alabama. There is no number, and this was a talking point for many years when he was ripping off national championships. The commentary, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I think there was a lot of truth behind it, was there was really no number that he could walk into the president's office at the University of Alabama and give him, taking that imaginary piece of paper, sliding it across the table. There's no number on that paper that they wouldn't have paid to keep him, right? And Kirby is starting to get into that realm at the University of Georgia. But let's just take football out of it. I'm talking about the coaching and the winning and the losing. He is generating money for the university. Money is coming in. That money gets filtered into, I mean, obviously he gets to spend a lot of it on football, but the money that he raises in football covers athletic scholarships for women's tennis, women's golf, equestrian, swimming, diving, soccer. The football money, the football budget, the money that they are able to create for the University of Georgia is used to support non-revenue sports. So when you say that Kirby Smart shouldn't be paid that much money, you have to understand what Kirby's been able to do for the University of Georgia is allow a lot more athletes to have better facilities, better opportunities. I mean, the only women's sport at the University of Georgia that could self-sustain is gymnastics. They sell out every single meet. But if you want to go see a women's volleyball game, Harrison, you know how much it costs to go watch? Nothing. You want to go watch a softball game? Doesn't cost to get in there either. You can just go in because they want people to go to the games. They're hoping they can make money off your concessions. I mean, women's basketball, obviously you have to buy tickets, but they don't sell out every game. They did for a while back in the day when Andy Landers had them really humming. But that's the one part that everybody keeps overlooking is that Kirby is bringing in so much money to the school. Even non-football people are making contributions to the school, funding the business. Go look at the new facilities. Go look at all the new facilities. They are building a brand new swim dive complex. When I was there just the other day with Jeremiah was there with me as well. We went and looked at all the renovations they're doing at all the different venues, the tennis, the women's swimming, everything's being renovated. Everything's going to be beautiful. Where do you think that money comes from? Women's tennis is not generating that revenue. That's coming from football. So Kirby Smart is the biggest freaking bargain in college athletics because he is bringing in money and they are able to support these other. I mean, women's tennis has better facilities because of Kirby Smart. And that's really where I rest my case. Boom, mic drop.
Dan, let's get into college football head coaches rankings. On3 put out a tweet, I guess a few days ago, talking about if the top 2 head coaches in college football are Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, who's number 3. So let's get in top 5 head coaches. This is an interesting conversation. A lot of debate around this. Pretty much a hot topic. Another one of those lazy interaction type posts where you can just put out something like, give us your top 5 or give us
and let it ride.
Yeah, just let it ride. Just let the interactions build. Let everybody argue. So, hey, we're going to chip into this. We're going to talk about it. Dan, number 1, first things first, let's establish some ground rules here. Are we going off of just last year? Are we going off a set of years? How are we determining our top 5 head coaches?
So we're going to do a top 5. You cannot have Kirby or Saban in there. Okay.
Ooh.
So Nick and Kirby can't be 1 and 2 in any order. So you have to do a top 5 without them in it. And then the second part of it is they have to be an active coach. And you can use whatever criteria you want. If you thought Barry Switzer should be number 1. I mean, he's not an active coach, but you get my point. It doesn't matter who you put at number 1 or number 2, and it's your own criteria. Just justify it. And you go first.
You go first. All right. Well, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit here. I think it's pretty easy. I'm going with Dabo Swinney. He's a 2-time national champion head coach at number 1. I think it makes sense. Obviously, he's fallen off in recent years, but he's established his legacy. Probably, and not even probably, he's going to be a college football Hall of Famer at the end of the day. 2 national championships at Clemson, had some really good Clemson teams. For Georgia's sake, I don't think many people want to see him turn around and get back to being a contender in the college football playoffs, but most likely at some point he will. So I'm going Dabo Swinney, number 1. What do you say, Dan?
For me, the number 1 coach in the country, I'm going to give it to Lincoln Riley. I like him a lot. I think he's a good coach. I think he has a great mind. I think he's a great recruiter. For me, the reason that I would have him number 1 is he's a young, attractive guy who's very smart and he's very aggressive on the recruiting trail. So that's why I would have him number one. I don't think he recruits well. So I got Lincoln Riley number one. You go number two. Oh, I'll go two. I like snake draft. You're on mute. So I'm just going to go number two. All right. So for me, number two on that, this one's going to be tough for me. Man, I don't know.
I've pulled up a list of coaches just so I have them in my mind.
Oh. Gar, who do you got number two?
I'm going Lincoln number two.
Okay.
I want to put Lincoln at two. Like you said, he's recruited really well, young, energetic, really good offensive mind, probably one of the, if not the best offensive mind in all college football. Lincoln number two. He doesn't have the pedigree in terms of national championships like Dabo does, but like you said, he's probably a better recruiter than Dabo does. He did it at Oklahoma. Would have loved to see him at Oklahoma in the NIL era to see if he could recruit at that top 4 level like he did beforehand. I mean, Oklahoma's not a great recruiting base. They have to pull a lot of their guys out of Texas. Recently, he made inroads at California when he was there. He's gone to USC. He's turned them around pretty quickly into a 10-plus win football team. Lincoln Riley's number two.
All right, for me, number two is Brian Kelly. And I know that this one's going to shock you a little bit, but winning at Notre Dame has never been easy, and it is more difficult now than it's ever been. And then people will say, well, he won at Notre Dame, but, everybody can win there. That's not true at all. They can only recruit like 4 months out of the year. They can't recruit in the wintertime because they're snowed in. And then on top of that, he goes to LSU, and you can say, well, LSU's a ready-made program to win. And typically I would agree with you, but Ed Orgeron basically ran that thing into the ground after having arguably one of the greatest teams ever to exist. And he goes and he makes the SEC championship game in his first year there. Now, he's on record that he thinks it's going to take a couple more years to be more consistent, but I think Brian Kelly's a better coach than a lot of people give him credit for. So my number one right now is Lincoln Riley. My number two is Brian Kelly. I'm going to go number three. I'll just go ahead and rip this one off. I hate him as a person, but Jim Harbaugh, he is a clown. I don't like anything about him, but he's a really, really good football coach. He's consistent. They win, and he does a really good job. So I have Jim Harbaugh at number three. Who do you have at number three, Harrison?
I was thinking about Kelly at two. Not going to lie to you. A really good pick by you to put him in there at two. I'm going to put him at three. Many for the same reasons you just said. And like Zach says in the comments, Brian Kelly proved me wrong this year. Earn my respect. I'm in the same boat with you, Zach. I did not think he was going to be successful at LSU, at least this quickly. He was definitely the hire that I needed a little bit more convincing. I didn't think he had the aura or the pull with recruits like some of the other hires they could have made. Prove me wrong. In all sense of the word, prove me wrong. He has a really good team coming back in 2023. It's 2023. Has a really good team coming back. Probably has a first-round draft pick at receiver, maybe even two. Really good quarterback room. I don't know if I'd say the best quarterback room in college football, but they're going to be really good this year. I'm going to put my stamp of approval like I did for Tennessee, and I'm going to bang this table until the end of the season. From now on, Dan, LSU's my team in the West. I don't think Alabama wins this year. LSU has so much talent. If he can replace Tommy Rees and keep that offense going, sky's the limit for this team. I got them going back this championship game.
So who do you have at number four?
Number four, I'm going to go with this is a tough one. I don't think people are going to like this pick. Dan's not going to like this pick. I'm going with Jimbo Fisher.
Oh, hell no.
I'm joking. No, I'm going with I'm going with Ryan Day. And I know who was it? Was it somebody said Ryan Day should be nowhere near the top 5? I disagree. Ryan Day is one of the top offensive minds in college football. Has had some good years at Ohio State. Hasn't got the big one yet, but like everybody should be reminded, he's only been a head coach for a few years now. We had to give UGA gave Kirby time and he got it done. I think if you give Ohio State some more time, they'll get it done. Doesn't have the most NIL backing. I don't know if people have paid attention to this, but when you look at what he's gotten through collectives, Ohio State's collectives are not as good as some of these other top 5 name brands in all college football. Does not have that type of backing. That's something they're trying to get kind of in order there with the collectives, trying to get unified on that front. I think he's done a great job. And yes, he may be born on third base, but hey, he was 1 point away, a field goal away from beating Georgia in the CFP semifinal. You have to give him some credit there. He has talent on that roster. Georgia has talent on their roster. He's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think for me at number 4 also, I'm going to go with Ryan Day. And I'm always the one, Harrison, that says or Zach, I'm sorry. Zach, I'm always the one that says that he was born on third and thought he hit a triple. Okay, so I get it. But Ryan Day is a good recruiter. Look at the classes that he continues to bring in talent. And listen, a lot of people were saying a lot of the same things about Kirby Smart when we lost to Alabama and lost the national championship game, but he came back with a vengeance and won 2 straight. I don't necessarily like Ryan Day, but he does a great job. And, he's got – I mean, listen, if we're being honest, he's got a top 4 program in the country. And you can't argue that. You cannot argue against him being a top 4 coach because he's got a top 4 program and they're going to continue to be there. Now, my number 5 is going to shock everybody. Maybe not. It's not going to shock Harrison. And he won't be on anybody else's top 5. Harrison, who's my number 5, Harrison?
I don't know. I don't know where you're going with this. You going with
Kiffin?
Like that?
Lane Kiffin. I love Lane Kiffin. The guy is hilarious. If no other reason, then I would want to just go to his press conferences. He's hilarious. I think he's funny. I know he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He's very smart offensively. Needs to learn how to coach defense. But I just like him. Listen, this is a crapshoot. We're at number 5 right now. So to recap for me, I got Lincoln Riley number 1. I've got Brian Kelly number 2, Harbaugh number 3. I had Ryan Day at number 4, and at number 5, I have Lane Kiffin just because I like the Lane train.
Real quick for me before I give 5, I have Dabo at 1, Lincoln at 2, Brian at 3, Day at 4, and number 5, kind of a tough one here.
I think I know who.
Do I want to do it or do I not want to do it?
I think I know who you're going to say. You're going to say Sark.
No. I should leave this stream. I'm going to do it. Give me Kyle Whittingham, number 5. When you can, the reason
that's Utah's coach, right?
Yep, Utah. The reason I'm putting him over Jim Harbaugh is this. When you look at what he has done at Utah compared to what Harbaugh has done at Michigan, I think Utah's probably been on the precipice of, probably getting to the playoffs a couple times. Won back-to-back Pac-12 championships at Utah. At Utah of all places. He has had success at Utah. I think he is willing to adapt, something I have not seen in Harbaugh yet. I'm not sure in their current form with their current offense that Harbaugh can win a championship at Michigan. I may be wrong. But I think if you put Kyle Whittingham at Michigan, you put Kyle Whittingham at some of these other elite programs, I think he gets the job done. One of probably he's a top 10 defensive coach in the country. Really good job. I like Kyle Whittingham. I'm going to buy some stock in him. But yes, and everyone, Michigan fans, if you find this, you're going to ask, where's Harbaugh? Well, I'll put Harbaugh at 6 to please you. I'm just not sold on Harbaugh just yet. I think I want to see him change, like Kirby Smart made the change offensively, and I'll buy it. Right. And I know Rudes is over here going to say it because, Rudes is the brother of Cameron Rising, probably the twin brother. So that's his head coach over there. So you got to give a shout out to the 4-star quarterback Rudes for backing up his head coach.
Hey, let me tell you this. If I would have remembered his name and even remembered he existed, I probably would have put him in 5 too. That's a hell of a pull by you. I totally forgot he even existed. But I have a wait and see coach. And let's see if you can come. My wait and see coach, and this is going to get the boys buzzing. My wait and see coach is Dion. Because I think Dion is a great CEO coach. I believe he can coach DBs as well as anybody, right? But I think his strongest acumen is that he just puts the right people in the right places. That's what Bobby Bowden did for the longest time. Bobby Bowden wasn't coaching X's and O's. Bobby Bowden went and got him one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. He got him offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator that could put massive guys and massive stats up. And he was just the CEO. He said, "Dadgum," and answer questions. And then he just let his coaches coach. And, my high school, our head coach was Kevin Maloof. And Kevin Maloof said the same thing. He said, a great coach puts great people in position and allows them to do their jobs. And to that point, we had 6 coaches off of that staff, of my high school staff, that went on to be head coaches of their own, and 3 of them won state championships. So, there is different ways to skin a cat. Nick Saban, very hands-on. Kirby Smart, very hands-on. Bobby Bowden was very hands-off. I think Deion Sanders is a great CEO. Listen, he's in the big boy conference now, big boy world. I don't know how he's going to do at Colorado. That's why it's a wait and see for me. But I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And health willing, because Deion's health has been really, really poor lately. I'm very interested to see how this plays out.
I have a wait and see of my own, and also have some guys I'm kind of high on, Dan. For the high ones, I'm high on Matt Rule. You go back to what he did at Baylor, impressive. I believe they were a 3-win football team that he inherited, maybe a 2-win football team his first year. There were 11 wins when he left that team and lost to Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Matt Rule, he's at Nebraska. If he can turn Nebraska around, one of these elite jobs, if they come open, you might have to go call Matt Rule. Because if you can turn Nebraska around, you can turn any program around, in my opinion. Because where Nebraska's at right now, they're not in a good spot. Not in a good spot. Dan and I pedaled the Matt Rule to Georgia Tech kind of bandwagon earlier this offseason. Georgia Tech did not go after him for whatever reason, at least not that I've seen. Not a serious push. Maybe he declined him. I don't know. But Matt Rule's a guy. Mike Norvell, Dan, kind of popped up on the radar this year. Had a really good year, 10-3. Had Florida State semi-relevant again, and not even semi-relevant. They were relevant again for the first time since your boy Jimbo left. I'm waiting and seeing on him. If he can do another good year, another 10-win season, I'll buy into Mike Norvell's stock. And then one that was mentioned in the comments that, somebody I think people forget about is Luke Fickell. Now, he's not the coach in Cincinnati anymore. He's at Wisconsin. That's going to be interesting. That is a storyline to watch. Is. That is a job to watch. If he can get Wisconsin kind of back to being a top 15, top 20 program, going to have to buy into him. So just 3 names there for me off the top of my head that I'm kind of watching out for, and in some cases I'm actually pretty high on. So Luke Fickell caught my attention in that Peach Bowl.
Let me throw one in there, Brent Key. Brent Key Woo! At Georgia Tech, he came in. Listen, Coach Clown, when he got booted out of there, I'm a firm believer that Brent Key used Jeff Collins to get his foot in the door because he knew he couldn't get that job on his own, and then sold him out because the minute that sumbitch was gone, they started winning and looking like a real football team. And all of a sudden, all the goofiness stopped, the sideline lifting weights, all the dumb shit, and he's going out and getting real football players. Like, they are getting real football players. And I mean, not just because the kid from my high school that I've coached since he was a little boy, Trajan Greco, who's now a 4-star on 3 recruiting. Love you, Trajan. Great job, buddy. I'm proud of you. But not just that, but Brent Key is out here getting real football players, and I'm interested to see how this plays out. And I know all the Georgia people watching are going to be like, I don't give a crap about Tech. Well, I do, because I want them to be good. I want that game to mean something again. And hopefully Brent Key is going to turn it in the right direction, because Clownboy sure as hell didn't.
He got his little 5 seconds of fame, if you will. Kept it competitive with Georgia there for a little bit. I want to say for maybe 2 quarters. Had them looking probably their best against Georgia since they actually last won the game. Won a game against Georgia back in, I believe that was 15 or 16. I want to say 6. Was it 15 or 16 they beat Georgia? I forget. One of those 2 years.
It was Rick's last year, right? That's what
yeah.
cost him his job. 16?
15, because 16 was March last year. But yeah, they looked semi-competitive for the first time since they actually won the game back in 15. And that's going to wrap it up for today's show, guys. Episode 91 of the Top podcast. We're going to have episode 92 tomorrow night. Time yet to be determined. I will get back to y'all on that. Writing a Bolsey of UGA.com. The guy that broke the story on the retraction letter sent from UGA to the AJC. We're going to have details, Q&A a little bit with him tomorrow, however long he wants to go. Maybe a little Georgia preview, maybe a little football be talked. But hey, whatever he wants to do, we're down for. Guys, make sure to tune in with us.
Hey, we're going to say it again. Tune in tomorrow. We don't know what time, but when we do, we'll let you know. Writing a Bolsey, going to be on the show. Be here.
I'm going to leave it at that.